So, you've been here a while. How's it feel to be back for this job?
Oh, it feels good. Never thought I would get the chance to do this job. So it's one of those things that, being an Army aviator in particular, and wanting to get into the business of weapon system development and really making a difference, very early in the cycle of developing solutions for soldiers, was just a goal to work here, quite frankly. And the opportunity to come back and lead the organization is icing on the cake, quite frankly. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But going back for you, growing up in Tuscaloosa, why the Army
Mm-hmm.
and why the Citadel? You were in Tuscaloosa.
Mm-hmm. Long story short, I ended up down south of Tuscaloosa at Marion Military Institute when they had a high school attached to the junior college. They no longer have that high school, but went there. My uncle went to Marion Military Institute years ago and ultimately resulted in desiring to be somewhere around aviation in the military. In Tuscaloosa, I went and got my own private pilot's license when I was 16, sold my car so I could do it. I was one of the few 16-year-olds that went from a car to a bike to ride around town, but it was worth it, and then pursued really options within the military early on in high school. Ran into, had applied to go and visited the service academies, but decided I didn't quite frankly know what branch. Ran into somebody as they found out I was applying to go to Virginia Military Institute, VMI, and he had been the former commandant of the Citadel, and he was working at Marion Military Institute, and he made it very clear to me that he would like for me to visit and give the Citadel a shot. So one trip there really did it. It's quite a unique campus, obviously. Yeah, beautiful town, fantastic in that it allows you to go into any of the services. So it's one of the benefits of VMI and the Citadel is they have all the ROTCs there. So you're not pre-deciding prior to college what you'll do, and it's probably apropos that I did start in Naval RTC at the Citadel and quickly realized that I really was attracted to what was Army Aviation, and eventually moved over in my junior year to Army Aviation, and the rest is history.
Army Aviation's got a deep, long history, especially today. We're 34th anniversary of the branch being founded. What attracted you to it?
So a lot of it has to do with soldiers, period. The human element, I obviously was part of other ROTCs, got a chance to see and decide really where my interests lied, and ultimately ended up deciding I wanted to be very close to soldiers and the human element of conflict, if you will, and resolving issues in the military domain. Army Aviation is an aviation element. It is what would typically be seen as an air domain asset, but in reality, the way the Army uses it, it works in the land domain.
It allows you to kind of cross that threshold of...
Right. So, yeah.
And so with PEO Aviation, you've been here before. And you've done jobs here. You said it's a job you always wanted, being able to do this one. How is it different from the desk you have now from where you were before? What do you see differently?
I see through the lens of experience, really. The mistakes that may or may not have been made, programs that I had seen cross the finish line of what right looks like, quite frankly, and the ability to really lead teams. That you move into a new job, you think it's about just your job. The reality is it's always been about the soldier, and it's always been about the larger context of the team moving the product forward and moving the solution forward on behalf of our nation. So.
And one thing I do a lot of in this area, with the stories I do, is I try and explain things to people who don't always know how the Army operates or everything like that.
Right.
So how do you explain your job to people who have no idea what the Army does or what your job is?
Right. So ultimately, I am a designer of future aviation weapon systems. That's what I do. That's what my team does. That's what we do collaboratively with all of our partners in industry. So we design, develop, and deliver weapon systems in the Army aviation domain, whether they be a manned platform flown by an aviator or whether they be an unmanned platform flown by a remote terminal operator.
And it's a huge part of the Army's portfolio.
Very large. It is the largest monetarily piece of the Army portfolio. Yeah.
Great. And how is the work that PU Aviation is doing going? How are things going? Are you guys running into issues with programs? Are you moving ahead on the work you're doing? What can you tell me?
Arguably, I think the team has done some really ingenious work. We're moving ahead despite constrained resources, as can be expected at almost any time in a program's life. We have essentially 4,000 manned platforms and just shy of that in unmanned platforms. And our goal really is to make sure that the Army's priorities for both Army aviation manned and Army aviation unmanned are met, both now and in the future. And what we do to achieve that is really we make sure that we analyze with the Army Aviation Branch the gaps that we need to overcome in order to really be dominant on the battlefield of tomorrow. The way we do that is we put programs together to design that future and to see it become a reality. We've done it in a lot of different areas. The Black Hawk, the Chinook, and the Apache are our main platforms inside a combat aviation brigade.
And it's something that I hear about from just about everyone I talk to in the Army right now. Funding uncertainty. How's it? And everything that a lot of what the PEO does revolves around money.
Right.
Are you guys being helped, hurt by the funding situation?
Right.
What's the impact?
The impact is always, it's simply how smooth we run. The amount of money ebbs and flows, largely dependent on what the priorities of our nation are. The reality is continuing resolutions is the difficult thing for us to get over. On an annual budget cycle, not passing a budget on time makes it difficult each year. But we have, again, a team that's pretty ingenious and for the most part is able to mitigate that and not allow that to translate itself to the soldier. That's one of the jobs we have, not just to develop material solutions, but also to mitigate issues along the way so that we still yield the same result.
Serve as that middleman.
Right, right.
And for you two, you've been with the job about 3 months. How's the learning curve been? I mean, from adjusting to not looking at one program or something like that, but all of the portfolio.
It's been fun. I'm not there yet, getting there. I take, when I am in town, which is not very often, I take a few walks in what is good Alabama weather compared to where I just came from in the Northeast. And ultimately what coming home means for me is getting updated on what I knew, learning where the Army wants to go in the future, and learning the new programs that I may have not touched inside this organization in the past. So I don't take it for granted as though I know, what all my team knows. I don't. And the job for me is to get up to speed, to help them, to shape the environment, and to make them a success.
And you've got a pretty darn good team.
We have a great team. I would argue the best, largely simply because if you look at certain strategies that have been put together to get over some of these fiscal constraints that we've been under, we have proposed solutions. The Army has adopted solutions, and we have developed systems on time that save the Army in order of magnitude of billions. Not millions, but billions. And to still yield the same exact capability that the soldier requested for billions less, I would argue is ingenious. And it's the teammates here inside PU Aviation and the aviation enterprise that did that.